What is up, everybody? It is Isaac of the Dead back with another video. Let's talk about the new episode of Daryl Dixon. So, I watched last season of Daryl Dixon on AMC. I made all my reviews. I like the show for the most part. As a fan of The Walking Dead, it's hard to stay invested this far into the franchise, especially after things like The Ones Who Live, which I will get to The Ones Who Live. Believe that. I will get to it. But right now, I want to go week by week and do episode for episode on Daryl Dixon. And I hate the title. I said it last year when the first season came out that the title for this season was stupid because it's The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. Such a stupid fucking title. I hate it. I hate the title. It's too long. It's too tedious. It's no. All right, no. But something that I was concerned about, which is validly affirmed in this episode, is that it's just going to be more of the same. It's just more of the same nonsensical, soapy bullshit that, The Walking Dead has been struggling to get rid of. So, at the very least, season one was interesting, right? They did something new. They went across the world. They went to France. And they had, variant walkers. They had new organizations. They had new takes on Daryl's character. At the very least, as boring as the show may have been at sometimes and how much it could have been like a ripoff of The Last of Us, Daryl Dixon's first season was at least daring enough to be different. That was something that I would at least respect. But now, they did the weird thing of putting Daryl in France so that he has to be incapacitated in some kind of way to where he can't interact with the other characters that we know or love. Because especially in last season, when Carol was calling up Daryl from where she was, the Commonwealth, I believe, and she was on the walkie-talkie saying somebody came back, but we didn't know who it was because they're trying to key jangle you to watch the next season. And so now Carol is going to find Daryl because she needs to tell him in person to come back home because whoever came back, which you could assume is Morgan Jones. You could assume it's Rick Grimes or Michonne, based off of The Ones Who Live, now confirming that, basically. And so it feels like we're running in circles as a franchise here. It feels like we're not getting to the fucking point, and it's running its course. It really is. It's dead. Like, unironically, The Walking Dead is a dead franchise. Like, it's a zombie franchise. It is a shell of what it once was, which is sad because it used to be one of the biggest TV shows on television history and cable history. Like, it was massive, several years ago. But now it's hard to even watch. It's kind of depressing. So basically what happens in this episode, spoilers if you're still invested somehow, because I know that I am. I'm going to see this out. I've spent too much time on this. I need to see this out, basically. So Daryl's still in France. He doesn't do much in France. We find out that the place that he took Laurent to is not so much a religious place. It's more like a culty place because they have weird practices. And the guy who runs it knows kung fu and shit, but he also acts mad sus. Daryl is training Laurent, and he wants Laurent to be more equipped for the zombie world, while everybody else around him says, "No, you're too hard on the kid. We want him to be more empathetic. We don't want him to be vicious and violent like Daryl." And Daryl's like, "Oh, the world is vicious and violent." It's my best Daryl impression for you, but so they act sus. They act sus in France, and then meanwhile, Daryl with the rebels break out. Their friends that were in Paris so that they could come to the church place. I don't know. They didn't make that whole thing clear. And Daryl had a chance to kill the bad guy, kill the bad woman who's, I think her name was Jere, something like that. I can't remember. He had a chance to murk her, and she got away. She got away because of a dumb explosion behind Daryl. He got scared by an explosion, and so she ran away. So, yeah, that felt tedious and stupid. Most of the episode was based around Carol and what she's been doing. So she takes Daryl's bike, drives it up to the place where Daryl got captured. She single-handedly kicks all these grown men's asses. I know that Carol's a badass. I'm willing to accept that, have for years. She can take down walkers. She's very smart with how she handles herself in the Walking Dead world, but with a bunch of like 300-pound dudes like that, again, this falls into the trope of like the girl boss biting everybody, throwing and tossing around the 300-pound guys. Doesn't feel realistic, and at this point, I'm less willing to forgive it. But it's okay, though. She used the crossbow to murk some of those guys. Then she takes a car, and she stuffs a dude in another car and leaves him for dead, basically. So Carol's really making an argument for herself to not be rootable here. It's actually starting to become kind of annoying that this character has not progressed at all. In fact, her hair got cut. She cut her hair so she looks like what she did in season 6 of The Walking Dead. So what, member berries now? Are we relying seriously on member berries? Anyway, she drives up the coast or something to look for the boat that took Daryl. She finds a guy who flies a plane, and she stays with this guy. I think his name is Ash. Turns out he's a good guy. He's one of the good guys. Who would have known? He ain't white. So all the other bad guys that she came across were white men. Well, some of them weren't white, but whatever. Maybe that's just a nitpick from me noticing that kind of shit. All right, maybe I'm just jaded from that now. But anyway, she goes to find this guy, and she manipulates him, which is evil. Why are you doing that now? Why are we this far into the game and you're still doing this regressive shit? It's evil that she's manipulating this guy. She's lying to him about how Sophia's still alive and that Ed took Sophia to France, which, why, what? Why? Just say Daryl. Just say Daryl. And she knows that if she says Daryl, the dude's not going to help her. So I guess in hindsight, it's a little bit smarter than I'm pointing it out to be, but it's still just fucking evil. Because she finds out that this guy has a shrine for his own son, his own 7-year-old son who died in the apocalypse because he couldn't save his son from the walkers. So he builds a shrine inside of this what's it called, a greenhouse. He builds a shrine for his son. Carol goes snooping in there while he's gone and lets in a bunch of walkers because the power goes out or something. And then there's a lot of contrivances and a lot of conveniences in this episode that makes things happen. Like there's a thunderstorm that strikes and hits the gas cans in the barn, and that causes Ash and Carol to start flying. Carol's like, you have a plane. I want to fly it to France to meet my daughter and my ex-husband. And he's like, I don't want to take you. And then the lightning storm comes. He's like, this is our only chance to go. It's like, what the fuck? So he agrees to take her based off of the assumption of like, what would you do for your son or your daughter, right? Like, what would you do? You'd fly all the way to France, wouldn't you? So technically, they fly to Greenland by the end of the episode, and we see her being claustrophobic, or at least in the plane, she's claustrophobic or afraid of heights. She wasn't claustrophobic when she was surrounded by walkers inside of the greenhouse, and she had to crawl out through the... Why has The Walking Dead become this? Why does The Walking Dead become this? Anyway, Daryl waits patiently like a manzel in distress as Carol's come to save the day in like 6 episodes probably. And so this is mostly a Carol episode. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Carol. I love Carol as a character. Now, as the TV show character at least, they did her justice more in the TV show than they did in the comics, but tomato here, there's good stuff from the comics and there's good stuff from the TV show that I like both equally. But this just felt lazy. It felt contrived. Felt boring for the most part. All the problems that could have been solved easily were ignored. And we're talking about characters that have been going on 10 years of development. Ignoring just basic fundamental shit. Like common sense. This is what the franchise has become now. It's just, it's weird. It's sad. But maybe it'll turn out good. Maybe I'm being too harsh on this first episode. I was pretty harsh on the first episode of The Ones Who Lived. But I ended up being right about that one. So maybe we'll come back to that in another video. I'll talk to y'all later. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Did I miss anything? Did I get anything wrong? Am I just crazy? Am I, losing my mind over The Walking Dead these days? Let me know. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Yeah. I'll talk to y'all later. Walking Dead it's over.